Hey everyone, welcome to Trans Youth Channel. It's Sunday, which means it's me, Samantha, and I'm really excited to talk about this topic. It has huge worldly significance. It's a big stepping stone for science. Society is being forced to think about it ethically and things like that. And the third thing is it's a huge beacon of hope way further on in the future for transgendered communities. And what it is transplants, which is a big deal. Basically, it's supposed to be just uterus transplants. That's the subject for this week, but I want to extend it to organ transplants regarding the sexual reproductive system. It's longer and everything, but I also want to talk about one more surgery. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split this into 3 parts for the video. The first one is basically explaining what's going on, what the surgeries are. The second one is the whole worldly significance of it, because that's actually really big. And then the third one will be my personal opinion, because it's different than the worldly significance. So yeah, anyway, basically the surgeries, I'll start with the uterus thing. It's not a confirmed surgery yet. It's not meant for prime time or anything. They're in clinical trials and they're still doing a ton of research. But essentially scientists have said that it should be theoretically, almost for sure, possible to transplant a uterus from a cadaver to a woman who has undergone chemo, had cancer, or had some problem that occurred to make the uterus inactive or force its removal. So that basically means that any woman who cannot reproduce because they are missing their uterus, their womb, to hold the child, can now reproduce by using a uterus from a donor, possibly dead or alive or otherwise. I don't really care about that, but that's basically what's going on with that. Then there is a second surgery that I want to talk about, because this one was successful and relevant to the uterus transplant, which was an ovary transplant, and it occurred around 2009, I believe. And basically the story goes there were 2 twins, and they were like in their 30s, early 30s, and this one undergoes an early menopause and is unable to have children because her ovaries are inactive. She really wants children. This one over here doesn't really want children, doesn't really mind, doesn't need any more, isn't using her ovaries. So the first twin asks the second twin for her ovaries. And after a lot of research, a lot of clinical trials and everything like that, scientists say, okay, let's try it. So they go through this, and she's the first to get an ovary transplant, and it's successful. So this one ends up with ovaries that are totally fine. She's completely healthy. Then she gets artificially inseminated, and it's successful. She gets pregnant, and it's successful. She births the child, successful. And so far, it's 2011. The child has been alive for 2 years. No ramifications, no problems with the child, no problems with the mother. It's totally fine, which is awesome, because that means that actually succeeded. And like the whole worldly relevancy to it is that it's a huge scientific stepping stone to be able to give women who cannot reproduce the ability to reproduce. It means that you don't require a surrogate, and you can actually have that incredibly personal experience of birthing a child that you're going to raise for the rest of your life. It will be yours, genetically, physically, and in experience, yours, which is a huge deal. When the ovary transplant succeeded, there were actually several articles that were kind of pushed out of the public eye regarding transgendered women who are physiologically male, and is it possible to remove a male's testes and replace it with female organs, female ovaries? And it wasn't really thought about, and it wasn't really done. It was ethically deemed as not the right route to go, because it wouldn't be the most beneficial or helpful, which is kind of BS. But either way, now that this new uterus thing is going on, the uterus surgery, which is going to be okayed after a little bit of research and things like that. They're going to see if they can't do a uterus transplant between animals first and then humans, and it's undergoing clinical trial and all of that fun stuff. If this works, because scientists said it was completely possible, if this works, society will have all of those ideas forced back into them. So ethics is going to be changing pretty dramatically, especially with GLBT rights. So it's a huge deal, because that means that 40 years on in the future, transgendered people might have the option to birth their own child of the male to female variety. We might have the ability to birth our own children, which is a gigantic deal, because that means that we are all female, internally, externally, mentally, emotionally, everything female, which is our goal. We want to be female. We don't want to be transsexual. And it's pointless to compare us to a cisgendered female now, but in the future, if I'm able to actually not only get a working fake vagina, but also working uterus and working ovaries, and everything in here is suddenly right, that would be amazing. Amazing to actually know that science will have accomplished the physiological transition from a cisgendered male to essentially cisgendered female, despite genetics, despite tertiary problems and things like that. It's a huge deal. So that's pretty much it. The worldly significance is that it's a huge stepping stone for science. It's forcing society to think, and it's allowing us to think about having our own children 30 or 40 years on in the future. Big deal. Now, what do I think of it personally? Personally, if you've seen my surgery video and my child video on trans youth, which was actually really early on, I don't want to have children. I would rather adopt a child who's already here, and I don't believe that incredibly costly and risky surgeries are really the way to go. If I'm okay with who I am now, then whatever. Like the SRS in and of itself, I'm still thinking about doing. So why would I want to get ovaries and a uterus, especially if it may not work? That's pretty much it there. So that's my opinion. Personally, this has no impact. In a societal and worldly view, on the other hand, gigantic impact. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So if you have any questions at all for Trans Youth Channel, email them to transyouthchannel@gmail.com, and we'll get them and overlook your question, and it might get picked for Trans Youth Channel. So please do that. We can't do this without your help, and there's 1,000 of you, so please. So that's pretty much it for that. Also, on the bottom in the descriptions, there's a survey. It's 5 questions, won't take you very long at all. It would definitely help me out personally. It would help me, help you, help me, help the community. It's a big deal. So please do that. Just copy and paste it, put your answers into the subject line, or personal message me. I really don't care how you get it to me, but it's not going to take long. So thank you very much. Congrats on the 1,000 subscriptions, and I will see you guys next Sunday. So yeah, bye guys.